Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Evan Statman. I happen to be a Academy of Finance teacher at Jefferson High School in Tampa, Florida. Jorge Sanchez happens to be one of my students, and it's always a pleasure to help him out as well as listen to Jorge speak. This presentation that I'm giving is about professional speaking. Now, I do not have a PowerPoint. I do not have any notes, because when you speak and you deliver a presentation, it's about how much information and how well you can deliver this. This is about you. Presentations are things that you create. It represents.
Why do you have your thing on?
Get somebody talking there?
Yeah, sorry, they were talking. I've muted them already.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right. So a presentation is about how well you know your information. It is about selling your thoughts, your ideas, because it's something you created. When you have a PowerPoint in the background, the PowerPoint becomes a distraction if you have too much information on it. The best speaker I've ever seen happens to be Steve Jobs. When he gives presentations, or I should say when he gave presentations, his presentations were practiced, rehearsed, well-designed. He would spend days, if not weeks, preparing for his presentations when he gave the annuals for the new iPads, new iPhones, or whatever Apple was going to introduce. If you ever looked at the PowerPoint slides that he had behind him, they were 1, 2 words at most, an image or a graphic, and that was it. It was all about how he delivered it, how he sold the items, and how he put his passion into what he had to say. Because if he believed in it, then people will want to buy it. People would want to listen to what it is he has to say. A big downfall of many presentations that are given is people use filler words. And filler words will be the death of any presentation, as any of my students have known. When we talk about filler words, we're talking about using the words and, but, like, you know. I don't know a whole lot. When a student sits there and says it in my classroom, I get to sit there and say, I don't know what you're saying. But the thing is, when you have too many filler words, it starts becoming like Charlie Brown's teacher. You're not paying attention to what the presenter has to say. All you're paying attention to is the filler words. You're not listening to them. You're not listening to anything they have to say. I've gone to many presentations with students, with other colleagues, and listening to what people have to say, all of a sudden they throw in a word, and then they repeat it over and over and over again. And then that's all I hear. And then I sit there and I nudge the people that I'm sitting next to, and I'm like going, really? This is a speaker? Somebody that is repeating the words over and over again? Wow. Is that what you want to hear when you give a presentation? Now, it just so happens when you create your presentations in PowerPoint, Microsoft came up with a new tool, and that is to preview your presentation, to practice your delivery. I tell people all the time, pull out your cell phone and take a video of yourself delivering your presentation. Today's society, we're so used to using our cell phones and taking videos of ourselves and posting it out on social media. So why not use it to practice and rehearse? Well, Microsoft, they did that, and they critique how you present. They tell you the number of filler words you have. They tell you if you're speaking too fast, if you're speaking too slow, if you are at the right pace. I'm surprised it's taken Microsoft that long to be able to add those tools into their toolbox but it's a wonderful thing. Now, just imagine giving a presentation. It's about how much you care. Your audience will see how much passion you have about what it is you're speaking about just by the way you deliver. Like I said, you create it, you should be able to sell it. You've been selling your whole entire life since the day you were born. Why is it so difficult to speak in front of an audience? People want to hear what you have to say. If you believe in it, sell it. Be passionate about it. People will buy what you have to say. Now, I want to open this up more to question and answer, because I want to hear your feedback and hear your questions about speaking, about giving a presentation. Remember, a presentation is your thoughts, your ideas. You're selling your concepts to colleagues, to get interviews, to get jobs, to network. That's what presentations are all about. So what are your questions? Let's open the floor up, Jorge.
Actually, that's a really good point. We try to encourage people to stay maintained and encouraged with with what we're talking about. And you actually brought up a good point of, if you're talking about it, you know what you want to say, then why is it so hard to actually say it when you're presenting? And it almost adds into that, I'm giving a presentation and I feel like people aren't motivated to listen to me, but really it might just be me that I'm like, I don't know if they want to listen to me. They do want to listen to you. They're here to you, give that presentation and almost like sell it. So my question to you is, what would you recommend to someone that has stage fright and they sit up there or they stand up there, they're giving a presentation and they're like, do people really want to listen to me? Like, what would you recommend or tell them to do or think about when they're up there, when they're trying to present?
If they're so worried about, do people really want to listen to me? Why wouldn't they want to listen to you? You have ideas. And these ideas that you have, not everybody has the same thought process. And because these are your ideas, add some emotion to it. I mean, you were just speaking just now. You smile, you have hand gestures, you changed your voice through voice inflection. That's what it's all about. And when you're out there in front of the audience and you're looking at them, think of some of these people as your friends. I mean, the people that are up on stage, they're just as scared as those that are sitting in the audience. Because when you're sitting in the audience, you don't know what to expect. And that's the same thing when you're on stage. Speaking in front of 50, 100, 1,000. I mean, think about this. Jorge, you've been speaking all day long. You've been leading the Florida FCCLA convention online all day. And you wonder, am I doing a good job? Are people really listening to what I have to say? Let them wonder. You're going to wonder that. They're going to wonder, does he really know what he's talking about? But you make it where people feel comfortable and relaxed. And that's what it is. You have to speak to people as if they're your friends. You don't want to speak at them, because if you speak at them, they're not going to want to listen to what you have to say. But you want to speak to them. Make them feel comfortable. And the best place to try it out is in front of a mirror or in front of your cell phone. Turn on your selfie camera and speak in front of your selfie camera, as well as get your family and friends and speak in front of them and record yourself in front of them. There's not a person that gets in front of other people that aren't nervous. Everybody's nervous. I'm nervous right now speaking in front of all you, and I don't even know how many people are here, other than I know you're here, and I know Isabella's here because I saw her name pop up. I don't know if I'd recognize any of the other names, but am I nervous? Yes, I'm nervous. I'm nervous every day I speak in front of a group of people, but it's natural, it's normal. When you lose those butterflies, then you're really afraid. It was a question, I guess, a question that came up.
Yep, we just had a question come in, and that's from one of my officers. Her name is Sydney. And she says, what would you say to someone who wants to engage a crowd during a speech, but isn't sure how to go about that?
Sydney, the question is, what kind of questions do you have? How do you want to engage the crowd? How are you looking to engage that crowd? That's the first thing you have to answer. The second thing is to engage a crowd, ask questions. Pause. Wait for the response. In sales, the first person that talks loses the sale. So what I mean by that is, if I'm going to ask a question to my audience, I'm going to wait a moment or two, see if somebody comes up with a response to that, then go on.
Now, I know we have some educators on here. I know Ms. Bergeron, she is our one of our district advisors, and Ms. Bennett's actually our board chair. And I think this question is kind of fitting, is what would you recommend to sometimes new chapter advisors? I know you're a DECA advisor yourself. What would you recommend to chapter advisors when they're trying to engage students and trying to make things seem engaging as far as like FCCLA or DECA, and how they can actually present these things to them or other things that they're presenting in their classrooms?
To me personally, I never heard of DECA before becoming an educator 10 years ago. The industry I'm from, food manufacturing, DECA was unknown. And after I got involved as an educator, I contacted and reached out to other food manufacturing companies to tell them about DECA. The thing about DECA and FCCLA is, what does it do for the students that are involved and how it helps their future? First thing is, it helps build connections. But second thing is, it helps them get out of their shells. It prepares them for a future of engaging with other people through the networking, through international conventions, statewide conventions, local conventions. When you have to prepare yourself for a role play or to explain a certain situation, that experience benefits the students to no end. I've seen it with my students. I've seen it with my own son, who's now in college, saying that the speaking engagements that he's learned through DECA, as well as through my classroom, because I get my students to give presentations, has helped him tremendously become a better person, as well as be able to take advantage of his knowledge and being able to think on his feet and being able to present his thoughts and ideas clearly.
And actually, before we get going, I do want to tell you all a bit about his own company, Today's Dough. Today's Dough is an educational, almost like a newsletter that you can sign up for. And every morning at, I think it's like 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, they send you an email about the news that's going on. So literally, let me pull up the one that they sent this morning. Today's Dough. My internet's going a little slow today, so
to let you guys know a little bit about Today's Dough and what it is, how it came about. Every morning I read the news. I read the news all day long. And I like to start my classes off with asking them what's going on in the news, because today's generation isn't as informed when it comes to the news as they are as what's happening out on TikTok and Twitter and other social media. And the news to me is very important because it affects our lives. But I just don't like to look at the headline news or politic news. I'm interested in business, finance, marketing, sports and entertainment. And how does those stories affect our daily lives? As a consumer, as a business owner or as a investor slash shareholder of a company. So Today's Dough was created to give students the opportunities to look and read these stories and reflect on how they affect their lives, because we throw in questions in there called rising doughs to get students to think about how this story can affect them, or how it affects the economy, or how it affects their community. We have currently, I started this project back in January of 19th of this year. And currently right now, we have over 60,000 subscribers, from high school students to college students to college professors all over the country. And they're looking at this as a fantastic thing that is helping them understand how business and transactions affect them. College professors are enjoying it because it's giving them a way to connect with their students in a way that they were unable to before. High school teachers love it because it's getting the students to think and interact. I get my students to blog out on Today's Dough, and other students from around the country have been blogging on it. So it's giving the students the opportunity to see how their peers in their generation think about these stories.
And here, I just want to sample real quick. This morning's fresh loaf, that's what we call it when we get our new email. It kind of looks sort of like this. So it's just a quick email, and it has like 8 articles that you can scroll through. So like the first one, it talks about JP Morgan Chase and like Wall Street. I know there's one here about Disney and how they're planning to spend $322 billion on some new content. And it just keeps students engaged. You know, they can come in every morning, read it, and they can talk to their peers and be like, oh my God, did you hear about the news here? Did you hear that Disney's doing this? Did you hear that so-and-so did that? I mean, there's even one on here about Denny's robot. Like, it really just keeps students engaged, and it keeps them talking so that they can almost interact with their students and their peers. And it's a great way for chapter officers too, if they're looking for something to just talk about. Go on Today's Dough, find an article and be like, oh my God, did you hear about this? Look at it, read about it, and they could even leave a comment and interact.
And the thing is, Jorge, my son is a freshman at Rochester Institute of Technology up in Rochester, New York. His Business 1 teacher requires them to have an article to discuss in class every day that they have class. So every student in that class has to come with an article, and he's pulling them up from Today's Dough, and his professor's sitting there going, where's this article coming from? And he goes, oh, from Today's Dough. She said, really? At the beginning of the semester? And he goes, yeah. And he started explaining Today's Dough. She's using it in her classes now.
It's exciting. Well, yeah, it's a really exciting opportunity. It's free for anyone to subscribe. We have our students curating content as well as Mr. Statman. So it's honestly, it really is a great way for students to stay informed. And that's something that FCCLA wants to encourage, is keeping our members informed about things that are happening in our 21st century so that they're ready for tomorrow's future. So
and the articles are based on ideas that the students would be interested. So they're not far-fetched articles that, oh, why am I reading this? Why is this even being published? And we're finding the articles and presenting them so in a way that they won't have to pay for it. So if there's a paywall, we find the article that's not behind a paywall so the students can get to them.
And it's really easy summaries too. It's probably like a 1-minute read per article. It's super quick. You could probably read it like when you're eating breakfast or things like that. And it kind of like takes you away from like the mess that life is sometimes, like COVID right now and how the new Omicron variant is coming out. And it's kind of like, oh my God, you're so stressed out. Just go on to Today's Dough, find an article and just have a laugh. See why Denny's robot went viral or something. And you can kind of go that way.